Okay, so picture this. Two philosophy students, Alex and Ben, are sitting in some loud coffee shop. You know the type. Steam's coming off their mugs, notebooks are out, but they're not talking about their dissertation. They've gone way bigger. They're tackling one of the oldest questions there is. Let's listen in on their debate.
Ben leans in, he pushes a sugar shaker out of the way, and he just drops it on the table. So if you had to bet, what happens when we die? And you could tell this isn't just some academic thought experiment for him. It's personal. What do we really think happens when it all just stops?
So Ben kicks things off, and he starts with the heart, not the head. His whole argument is that caring about an afterlife isn't weird or morbid. It's actually the most natural thing in the world. I mean, if you love someone, you want them to flourish, to be well, right? Why on earth would that hope just end at the grave? But Alex isn't buying it. He thinks all this talk just distracts us from what's right in front of us, the here and now. And this is Alex's comeback. He throws out this quote from Thomas Nagel. The idea is, look, the goodness of an act, like say helping someone out, isn't measured by how long it lasts. The value is right there, in the moment. Who cares if anyone remembers it in a million years? That doesn't change the fact that something good happened right now.
But Ben just pushes right back. He's like, okay, bear with me here. Imagine you work to build a well in a village. Do you then say, well, I'm totally indifferent if a flood washes it all away tomorrow? No way. That would be bizarre. If you really truly care about something, you hope for its long-term success. And if you follow that logic all the way down the line, well, you end up thinking about an afterlife.
So Ben decides to go for what seems like the simplest answer. You know, the classic move. Maybe we just have a soul, an immaterial, non-physical thing that's kind of driving the body around. And when the body breaks down, the soul just keeps going. It's classic dualism, the ghost in the machine. Seems pretty straightforward, right? A nice, clean solution for survival. Well, Alex immediately spots a huge problem. He points to two identical coffee cups on their table. Okay, he says, imagine these cups were totally invisible, and they didn't have a location in space. How could you ever tell them apart? How would you know which was yours and which was mine? And that's the identity problem for souls. If they're imperceptible, non-spatial things, how do we know the soul that survives is actually the same one that was you? Ben argues that Alex is making a classic mistake here, and he brings up the philosopher William Hasker to back him up. See, there are two totally different questions. The first one, the metaphysical one, is what does it even mean for you to be you over time? The second one, the epistemological one, is how can we tell that it's you? Ben's point is, just because we as humans would have trouble telling two disembodied souls apart, that doesn't mean there isn't a real fact of the matter about which is which. So the conversation shifts. Alex says, okay, fine, let's get off this soul stuff and onto my turf, materialism. No spooky ghosts, just physical matter. But Ben just smiles because he knows materialism has its own identity problem. And honestly, it's even weirder. So Alex lays out this wild thought experiment from philosopher Peter van Inwagen. It's a way to try and make a materialist resurrection make logical sense. So imagine this. The moment you die, God pulls a fast one, a little switcheroo. God takes your actual body and puts it somewhere safe, but leaves behind a perfect atom-for-atom copy to be buried. Then later on, God just reanimates the original. See? Continuity is preserved, no spooky soul needed. But Ben uses Van Inwagen's own analogy to set a trap. But is it really the same, he asks? Think about it. If a priceless original manuscript from St. Augustine was burned to ash and God zapped an atom-for-atom perfect copy into existence, it's still not the original. That copy never felt the ink from Augustine's pen. It's a perfect forgery. And a reassembled body? It would just be a perfect replica. It wouldn't be you. Alex isn't giving up, though. He brings up this even crazier idea from Dean Zimmerman. Okay, stay with me. Imagine your laptop is about to get smashed with a hammer, but at the exact instant of destruction, every single particle buds off an identical twin particle, and they instantly assemble into a brand new identical laptop in a safe place. It has all your files, your whole history. Is it your laptop? The closest continuer theory says, yeah, pretty much. Ben just kind of sighs and leans back in his chair. All right, we can sit here and debate these bizarre logic puzzles all day. But what about all the, weird stuff, the things people say they've actually seen? And just like that, the debate takes a sharp turn away from pure philosophy and into the messy world of real-life claims. Ben throws this number on the table to show just how big this is. He's like,
Think about it. A Gallup poll way back in 1982 found 8 million Americans reported having a near-death experience. His point is, this isn't some rare fringe thing. It's happening to a lot of people, and it deserves a serious explanation.
And what's really wild is that these stories aren't all over the place. Researchers have found these incredibly consistent patterns, again and again, across different cultures. That feeling of peace, seeing your own body from above, the tunnel of light, meeting beings of light, even having your whole life flash before your eyes. It's that consistency that makes people think something real must be going on.
Of course, Alex jumps right back in with all the counter-arguments. He points out how culture totally shapes the details. Like in the West, you meet a spirit guide. In India, you meet a bureaucrat who tells you there's been a clerical error. Plus, these things can be triggered just by the fear of dying, or by a brain that's being starved of oxygen. And all that supposedly secret information people learn, a lot of times it's either wrong, or it's something they could have just overheard while everyone thought they were unconscious. And then they both kind of pause. They realize they've hit a much deeper wall. Their whole disagreement isn't really about souls or body swapping anymore. It's about their fundamental starting point, their whole idea of what kind of universe they're living in to begin with. And this is where Ben makes his biggest point. He argues that, look, if you start from the assumption that a loving, all-powerful God exists, an afterlife doesn't seem like such a crazy leap. In fact, it almost seems plausible. You start to think that maybe a being like that would want more for the people he created, especially for those whose lives were filled with suffering or cut tragically short. Then Ben brings in the big guns. Immanuel Kant. Kant basically argued that our own sense of morality almost demands an afterlife. We have this deep-seated belief that, in the end, justice should prevail, that good people should be happy. Since that obviously doesn't always happen in this life, it's reasonable to believe in a next life where the cosmic scales are finally balanced. And this just lays the whole disagreement bare. It really comes down to this. If you think the universe is just a cosmic accident, then yeah, that deep, almost universal human desire for something more is probably just wishful thinking. But if you think the universe is purposeful, that it was created by a loving intelligence, then that same desire might not be a bug. It might be a feature, a clue, pointing toward a real destination we were made for. Alex and Ben just look at their empty coffee cups. They haven't solved it. They haven't proven anything. But maybe that was never really the goal. They've mapped out one of the most profound questions we can ask. A question that isn't just about death, but about how we live. Does the meaning of a great story depend on whether it has a final chapter? That's the question they're left with. And, well, so are we.